Good tunes there, Marissa, and learn it. Like the tunes.
Thanks, Tim. Thought we'd zest it up a little bit at 8:30 this morning.
Right, that's got a good, good groove.
Wonderful. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. Good morning, everybody. My name is Carly. I'm the Events and Community Partnerships lead here at Learn It. And with me, I have Marissa, our Events and Community Partnerships coordinator, as well as our speaker, Tim, who we are thrilled to have here today to help us kick off the new year with inspired and inspiring leadership at home, work, and play. So thank you all for starting the new year with us. We're focusing on the theme of self-leadership for January. So thank you for joining and for helping us kick off the new year. For those of you that know Learn It, welcome back. It's really wonderful to see you. It's great to see Marilyn and Peter Paul in the chat. Thank you so much for coming back and starting your year with us. And for those of you that are new to Learn It, welcome. We're just as thrilled to have you here. And if you are new, just go ahead and put where you're from in the chat. It's always great to see where people are tuning in from. And just a little bit of context on Learn It. If you are new, we are a learning and development organization based in San Francisco, California. And we work with everyone from HR executive and leaders to individual contributors to upskill on both hard skills and soft skills for the economy of today and the economy of tomorrow. So these events that we run every Friday are meant to be an extension of that mission to help everybody keep learning. So we run these events every week. Our monthly theme is self-leadership, and they're led by myself and Marissa, our community team, as well as subject matter experts and experts and guest speakers like Tim, as well as in partnership with a different nonprofit every quarter. And we also partner with featured nonprofits that are near and dear to our guest speakers. So Tim will speak a little bit more about the nonprofit partner for this month as well. A couple of quick housekeeping items. For questions, we will be taking questions throughout the session, so please put your questions in the chat, and we'll leave time for those, as well as in the around 57 minutes we have left together, we'll also take time for questions at the end as well. So feel free to use the chat. And we will be recording this session. The recording will be available via Offsite on our community platform. I'll speak more about Offsite later, but just to give you a quick preview, Offsite is Learn It's new online community forum dedicated to fostering connections and keeping the learning going after today's session. So more on that to come, but without further ado, I'd love to introduce you all to Tim. Tim is a master facilitator, a keynote speaker, and coach. He's the co-founder of 1 Degree Shift. And we first met Tim a couple months back after a change management session. And being that Tim and I are both yogis, we kind of bonded on this idea of you can't be a great leader until you really feel inspired yourself. So really excited to be partnering with Tim here today. And Tim has brought value to hundreds of thousands of leaders worldwide and is a trusted advisor to CEOs and executives all over the globe. So he's based in Canada, so we're lucky to have him, but really excited to bring him to our audience today. So with that, I'll welcome Tim.
All right. Thanks, Carly. Thanks, Marissa. Thank you, Learn It. I love to see that we've got people from all over the world here. I often will lead sessions in a ballroom or something live, and we've got, intact teams. But what's awesome here is we got somebody from Germany, we got somebody from Nepal, we got people from all over the US, San Francisco, Washington, Ohio, Oakland. So I don't see any others from Canada right now, but I think there's a few joining from Canada. It's a beautiful day here in Toronto, Canada, which is where I'm based. Pretty cool, below zero, but sunny and clear. So very excited to spend some time with you over the next 50 minutes or so around inspired and inspiring leadership. I'm just pulling up my my PowerPoint here so I can stay on track, stay focused. So you can see that, Carly, thumbs up if you can see that, okay? So inspired and inspiring leadership at home, at work, and at play. Because I believe that inspired leadership is about being holistic, and it's about being integrated. It's not about compartmentalizing. We have to, how can we bring our full selves into every conversation in every moment in life. So it's a topic I'm super passionate about. So for those of you who don't know me, which is most of you, just 1 minute or less on me, so you know who is this guy that's leading us in this conversation around inspiring leadership. First and foremost, I'm a dad, I'm a husband, so you can see our family in the middle. That was a picture of our family at actually Casa de Campo in Dominican Republic when we could travel. If you remember those days, they're coming soon, don't worry. And my wife, Nancy, far right there. We got 3 amazing kids. So Ryan is almost 21, and he's in 3rd year Queens up here at University in Canada. Sophie, who's beside Nancy there, who's 2nd year University Laurier up here in Canada. And the youngest, Zach, who's 16. And, has to be the youngest, has to stand out. So he's on a donkey. We had sort of a fun dinner in Casa de Campo there. And that's a nice moment from that experience. Far left is me at work. So as Carly said, I'm a speaker, I'm a consultant, I'm a change maker, do spend most of my time around culture, leadership development. And obviously since COVID, it's been all virtual, which is totally cool. It's brought about new opportunities. And then far right is me singing. I moonlight as a singer-songwriter, and I've actually learned a lot about leadership, collaboration in particular, through my writing of music. So, and I come from One Degree Shift. That is my main focus right now. I'm a co-founder and partner. You'll see our why there on the bottom, our raison d'etre, and we're going to dig into what I call cause as an inspiring capability. But our cause, or why, at One Degree Shift is advancing humanity through co-creating conscious work culture. So how do we bring authentic humanity in to workplaces? Masks off, authentic selves in. And those are our values that I'm super passionate about. Those are our hows. So that's where I come from. So my intention here with you all in this session around inspired and inspiring leadership is, this is actually, my wife Nancy gave me this book for Christmas. It's a pretty cool, playful, kind of kid-like book called Let the Fire Burn. And my intention comes from this book, which is, to the fire that is in each of us, may it burn bright and light up the world. To the fire that is in each of you, in each of us, may it burn bright and light up the world. So I'm just going to pause there, because I just wanted everybody to close their eyes for 30 seconds. Just get comfortable, put your feet on the ground. Let's just take a few deep breaths together, because I want to encourage us to get present, because a big part of inspired and inspiring leadership is presence, is being here in the moment. You carved out 50, 60 minutes for you to be inspired so that you can bring more into your life, into your family, into your people. So let's take 3 breaths together. Just breathe in. Breathe in some energy, breathe out any stress. Just breathe in some energy. Breathe out any stress. Last one, just put your hand on your heart. Just breathe in that heart space. Breathe in. Breathe out. Yeah, presence. So I hope that fire burns bright with all of us in our session today. Awesome. And you might want to just write down an intention on a piece of paper for you. How do you want to show up? We're here virtually. But what's an intention? My intention is to be present, to be engaging, to be energizing, bring value. So just write a word or something on a piece of paper. What's your intention for this conversation? How do you want to show up? I think that's a big part of being an inspiring leader, is to have real great intention. So specifically, the desired outcomes or objectives that I have for us today are, first is just connecting and exploring this topic of inspiring and inspired leadership. I believe, and you'll hear me say this a few times, but in order to be inspiring, we need to be inspired. We need to go first. It is, I believe, impossible to be an inspiring leader unless we put the oxygen mask on first. So we need to be inspired and inspiring. So we're going to explore this, and I'm going to really dig into the heart-based elements of inspiring leadership in particular. Number 2 is we're gonna go on a bit of a journey. I'm gonna share with you 5 key ingredients, 5 C's of heartful leadership that sort of breathe into inspiring leadership. And I'm really hoping that you all have 1 or 2 commitments that you take away from this. It's like, yes, I am super committed to applying this, sharing this, whatever this is. Pay attention, and please be open to the possibilities that one of those 2 things might be for you today. So there are the outcomes. So here's a reflective question, and then I'm going to do a poll just to engage you early in our conversation here. So the reflective question is this: just take out a piece of paper, maybe where you wrote down your intention for the conversation today. When you think of an inspiring leader, our topic for today, who comes to mind for you? So this could be a family member, it could be an old teacher, it could be a colleague, it could be somebody you know, it could be a boss, it could be somebody that you know in your work or at home or at play. It could also be somebody that you don't know that you respect, that's out there. And as you're thinking about that, I'll just give you a couple quick examples for me. For me, very early, I was sent to boarding school, which was one of the best things that ever happened to me when I was a kid. And I went to a school up here in Canada, Ontario, called Trinity College School. We had a headmaster who ran the school, the principal. His name was Roger Wright, and he was totally inspiring. You know, he's a young guy, early 30s. He related well to us. He was very active. He took an interest. He was just a very approachable, accessible, interested guy. So he was inspiring for me because he was in his early 30s. I was 16, 17 at the time, and I really looked up to him and how he took an interest and was curious with others. So that's Roger. One another for me would be Howard Schultz, the former CEO chair of Starbucks. I've always admired him and his leadership. He's very purpose, values driven. So whatever that is for you, just before we get into things here, what's inspiring or inspired leadership for you? Maybe write down somebody, alive or dead, and just tune into that. I'm going to come back at this at the end and see if this thinking has shifted at all for you. Now what I want to do is I want to do a poll here. So Carly, our host for today from Learn It, is going to do a poll. And this is about what you feel the number one job of leadership is today. So Carly's got the poll there. So you only get one option. So pick one. What do you feel? And I'm going to participate here too. There we go. I'm going to comment on my perspective in a minute. So I'm just going to stop share. We're going to focus on the poll. Only one option. We'll give you another 10, 15 seconds. And if you're on video, I mean, I see a lot of you are not on video. If you want to be on video, that's great. I can see some of your smiling faces. If not, that's fine too. But you only have one choice, maybe 5 more seconds, Carly. Number one job of leadership today in particular. There's John. Hey, John, how's it going? Good to see you. Number one job of leadership today. Okay, Carly, why don't we show the results? Hey, Elise, thanks for joining us by video. So Carly, what do we have there? Okay, so interesting. So to develop others, build a strong team. So those are the top two, none on drive results and quite a few on inspire others. So interesting, this group, 28%, 56% of you would say that inspiring leadership is about developing others, about strong teams. So it's about others. That's cool. Okay, that's good. That we'll take that. They'll take that notion and we'll breathe that into the rest of the conversation. We'll keep rocking and rolling here. We'll come back at that. So I want to just share with you a couple perspectives to set some context. And this is maybe what inspiring leadership is not. So I'm going to share with you a 60-second video. I think it's kind of funny. It's kind of playful. And it may not come through great for you, but that's cool. You'll get the idea. This is 60 seconds. This is what I believe inspiring leadership is not. Fair enough. I'm not sure if you heard that, but it was Lighthouse. So this is the old school leadership, which is command and control, overly authoritative. I know best, not considering the input from team. In this case, right? Ship is going, we've got the captain of the ship, he knows best, and he's communicating with somebody not sure, and he's communicating with a lighthouse. Sorry, mate, can't move, lighthouse. So, I think that's old school leadership, command and control, hierarchical, and it just doesn't work anymore. It just doesn't work anymore. It doesn't work at home. It doesn't work at work. It doesn't work at play. So we need a new school leadership, a new brand of leadership that's more inspiring. That's more effective. That's more collegial. So that's what we're going to dig into today, is to deconstruct that. So I'm just going to also paint a picture here with what I believe part of the problem of leadership is today. So let's engage us in this. So there's 20%, maybe 10, 20% leading. Most people are following, 60%, 70%. And there's actually 20% of the people that are just getting in the way. They're detractors, they're inhibitors. They're not believers of the path forward in the organization or in the community. So how do we flip this around so that we can have 100% of people leading? 100% of people leading. Now you may be sitting there thinking, hang on a second, Tim. leadership, you need to have leaders and you need to have followers. I don't think so. I believe leadership is a choice. Leadership is a choice of leading ourselves, of leading others. And I believe that leadership is not about titles. It's not about hierarchies. It's about a mindset. So inspiring leadership is a mindset. Inspiring leadership is a way of being. Inspiring leadership is a way of showing up in a way that has energy for ourselves and others. Here's what inspiring leadership is for me. And by the way, I chose that the number one job of leadership is inspiring yourself. I think that's the number one job of leadership today, because if we can't inspire ourselves and start from within, that I think it stops there. So here's how I define inspiring leadership. I would offer this definition: taking great care of, great care, not good, great care of and understanding ourselves. So this is about self-awareness. This is about well-being for ourselves, compassion, which I'm going to dig and explore on later. So we can in turn breathe energy and meaning into life and lift up others. So 3 parts to that: taking great care of ourselves and our well-being, and there's an awareness there. So we can breathe in energy into life and others and lift up others. And I'm going to also explore a concept called co-elevation. It's a Keith Ferrazi concept here. Co-elevation is like collaboration on steroids. So I believe this is inspiring leadership. And I would also offer this from my great friend, Lance Secretan, who's written a fairly recent book called The Bellwether Effect. It's a beauty. He's 80 years old. This is his 35th or 40th book. He's amazing. He's still skiing. He just got an operation a year ago to remove one of his lungs. He's incredible. He says inspiration is lighting a fire within someone versus motivation is lighting a fire under someone. So inspiration is about breathing the life into yourself and others so that we can show up and maximize our potential. There we go. I'm going to offer a bit of a handout for Carly and Marissa and Ben and the Learn It team. And you can, if you're interested, you can get it. And I'm just going to share with them this sort of one pager as well as the key models I'm going to explore today. So we're going to really look at why inspiring leadership is important. And I'm really hoping again that you'll land on even if it's one thing that can help you be a more inspiring leader. Just a quick contextual piece, and I have a story that I share here. I'm just going to give you the Cole's notes of it because, you know, I'm sure a lot of you have heard the expression fourth industrial revolution or VUCA, volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. We live in a world that is moving so fast, and that was before COVID or Black Lives Matter. The fourth industrial revolution is the first industrial revolution was early 1800s. Really, you know, driven by coal, you know, that early 1800s. Fast forward to the second industrial revolution was powered by a wave of devices like electricity, started to create more incremental breakthrough. Third industrial revolution was really the internet, late 80s, early 90s, storage. And then the fourth industrial revolution really began a few years ago. And it's the space of, it's the digital and cyber physical age. So before COVID and Black Lives Matter and all the stuff that's going on, we were at the beginning of the fourth industrial revolution. So the graph I often will try to do for my own brain, hopefully this helps you. It's like we've got this pace of change going like this, and we've got the pace of human development sort of plodding along. So the meta level change is happening so fast, it's putting a lot of pressure and stress on us. So what does that mean? We need to take even more care of ourselves and others. So it really puts a premium on that inspiring self first part. Oxygen mask on first so that we can really just cope with a very uncertain and challenging environment around us. Okay, so the question for us all is, are we creating a ripple effect of stress? Because anxiety levels right now, you know, quadrupled, depression, it's a very challenging time, and it's hard to stay calm. It's hard for everybody, including me. Are we creating ripples of stress, or are we creating ripples of calm and focus into our families, into our workspaces, into our communities? So the notion here is if we're healthier, it creates a ripple effect into our workplaces, into our teams, into our families and communities. So how can we be agents of calm well-being that can have a positive impact? So moving to sort of the inspiring leadership, there's sort of, I'm really going to dig into one of them today, but just for a little bit of context, you know, we've got head, heart, hands. So if we've got the head part of leadership is the strategy, and we're at the beginning of 2021, what's my plan for the year, for the organization, for the team, for myself? What are the resources? All that good strategy, seeing the forest from the trees, that's critical. It might be 10% of your role, it might be 20% of your role, it might be 30 or 40% if you're a CEO. The heart part, and that's really what I'm going to dive into today and explore, the heart part, which I believe we really need more than ever in order to be inspiring. And then we've got the hands, which is agility. So the head strategy, the heart and the hands agility, we're going to really focus in and zoom in on the heart part, because I believe if we don't, this is like the engine. If we're not in tune with heart, I think it's impossible to be inspired and inspiring. Okay, so I'm going to explore briefly heart set. I'm going to give you an overview of heart set and 5 C's of the heart part of inspiring leadership. And then we're going to kind of explore each with some stories and some tools and some anecdotes. So we hear a lot about mindset. I don't think we talk enough about heart set. So heart set is just coming from a place of presence, authenticity, whatever that is for us, what feels true and honest for ourselves, and gratitude. So if we just kind of get grounded here, you just close your eyes, maybe take a few breaths, just being present. Maybe just put your hand on your heart, breathe out, 2 more, breathe in. Feel that heart energy, breathe out. 1 more, breathe in. Breathe out. Just tune into something you're grateful for. Might be a friend, might be a family member, might be a work colleague, might be a thing, might be a pet. Just connect into that gratitude, connect into that energy. That space is heart space, presence, gratitude. Now, we have this thing on the top of our heads, which is head, which gets us to think about, I'm in Toronto right now, it's 11:45, what's for lunch, it's Friday, what's on the weekend, what's next, what do I have to do for today to fulfill my deliverables? The mind gets going, and it's just so difficult and so important to just be here. You're here for the next 30 minutes to invest in yourself and get 1 or 2 ideas to help you be a better leader. So the heart set. And then 5 C's. So compassion. Already spoken a little bit about this, but I'm going to dig into the compassion part. And this is sort of an inside out process. So heart set, presence, compassion, just tuning into this wisdom that is here in our heart. I think intuition is in our hearts and inside of ourselves. Compassion. We've got courage. So, one of the leading thought leaders today around courage, I think, is Brene Brown. And I'm going to give a quote of hers later, but, Dare to Lead. Great book. I'm going to give you a few. The first one, Bellwether Effect. Second one, Dare to Lead. A couple of suggestions. But courage is about being curious about what's shifting, what's going on, being interested in others, and about the willingness to take risks. Our makeup is such that our ego protects us, right? It tries to make us feel comfortable and safe. Courage is about challenging the status quo. It's about going out on the skinny branch a little bit. It's the willingness to take risks. For some of us, that might be big risks in business. For some of us, that might be little risks, or small C courage, which might be just speaking up more and asking questions about why we're doing something. I think that's courage too. So there's various levels of courage. We've got cause. Probably the leading thinker around cause or why, I believe, is Simon Sinek. It's connecting with an inspiring personal purpose. So again, how do we have a why or a purpose that jazzes us, that gets us out of bed in the morning? And how do we align that with our organizations? So personal why or cause. We've got co-elevate. So I'm going to drill down on this a little bit more in a bit. Co-elevate is, again, like collaboration on steroids. Exploring and co-creating synergies to lift each other higher. It's this notion of teamwork that gets the best out of each other. It's about leveraging strengths. It's about riffing. Co-elevation is a Keith Ferrazi concept, which I really love, because we live in a virtual networked economy right now. So we need to have a different brand of teamwork and collaboration. And I believe that's co-elevation. And then the 5th C is coach. The 5th heart-based capability is coach, helping others become the best version of themselves, not our perspective of what they should be, but whatever their unique abilities and their strengths are. How do we coach, develop other people? So again, we've got this heart set, and this is the heart part of inspiring leadership, head, heart, hands. This is the heart stuff. It's compassion, tuning into intuition, courage. It's about the willingness to take risks, be curious, cause, what's my why, and how can that inspire me and connect it to my business, co-elevate, collaboration on steroids, and coach, help others grow, be the best version of themselves. So I'm going to do another poll. If Carly, you could help us out here. I'm really curious. How would you rate yourself out of 10 on each of these 5 I just went through? I'm really curious what's popping out as, and I'm going to stop share here. What's popping out as strengths in areas for opportunity? So, it's
Tim,
just,
can you see the poll there?
Yeah, so I think it's instead of out of 10, maybe your number 1 strength. Let's do that. Or no, I'm going to change it. Pick which one you think you need the most work at. Pick one you think you need the most work at. So it might be the weakest, or you have energy to dial up. I'm going to play as well. Number 1, that one, it's different than what the question is, but that's fine. What's the one that you want to dial up? And I'll actually spend a little bit more time on that one with this group. So if you only had one choice in those 5 C's, what would it be? Just give you another 7 or 10 seconds to think about it. We'll see what the number 1, I'm very curious. Are you curious, Carly?
So curious. Yeah, I know what mine is.
Okay. Okay, let's show it, Carly. Maybe you can speak into what yours is.
Perfect. All right, I'll end the polling. Mine was also courage.
Yours is courage.
Mm-hmm.
Courage for Carly. Okay, let's show can you show the results?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Let's see. Can tell I'm new to polling.
Oh, isn't that interesting? Courage. 31% courage. Okay, so I'll spend a little bit more time there. Courage is 1, and then compassion, and okay. Cause is that's interesting. The distant 5th. It's like that horse in the horse race. It's like sort of clamoring to keep up. It's not in the race. All right, cool, right on. That's very interesting. Thanks for sharing, everybody. How many people did we have share that, Carly? Just for numbers.
We had roughly, let's see, roughly 25 people share, 25 to 27.
That's decent. That's a decent. Okay, good. So I'm now going to just dig into each of these, and I'm going to spend probably the most time on compassion and courage, and I'll just touch on cause, given that. So I just want to share we all have stories, some success, some failures. I'm going to briefly share with you my failure story around compassion. So this will be a way to kind of get in. I'll spend the next 5 or 6 minutes on the first C, compassion. So I'm 51. And when I was 30, I started a business called Fusion Learning. So I'm a bit of a serial entrepreneur. I have lots of energy around being an entrepreneurial person, and started a business called Fusion Learning in 2000. After Nancy, my wife, gave birth to our eldest, Ryan. So at 6 months old, I decided, hey, I'm going to start a business. In hindsight, might not have been a great idea, but there you go. So started it when I was 30 in our basement, and the vision was to be a leader in the sales training effectiveness business. So we had lots of fun, grew the business, got people, became a fast growing business in Canada. I think we made a difference, helped people develop sales abilities. It was great. It was a great journey. Fast forward to 2009, I was starting to feel a bit tired, a little bit burnt out. Frankly, I wasn't taking great care of myself. If you ask my mother, I think she would probably say, Tim, you're not taking good enough care of yourself. And then I decided, the beginning of 2010, I made a very difficult decision. You know what? I need to change gears. I'm going to sell this business to internal partners, and I need to change. I need to spend more time on music and other things. I was feeling like I was caught too much in the hamster wheel. So I decided to sell the business. And it was a really successful business, but it was time for me to exit and do something different. Fast forward to the end of 2010, Nancy and I went and had a great trip to Peru to celebrate. We went, never been to South America before. Came back, and at the beginning of 2011, there were some weird things that started to happen to my body. Started to get really lightheaded. I was having trouble swallowing, started to lose weight. It got worse. I had a lot more trouble swallowing, lost more weight. Went to a few doctors, couldn't figure out what it was. And then they diagnosed me with something called achalasia in April of 2011. It's an autoimmune disorder. And if you do any research on autoimmune disorders are like this. They're on the rise big time over the last 10 years, or the last 3 years in particular, because of all the stress. So I got achalasia, and I was down to 139 pounds in April of 2011. I had to have life-saving surgery called the Heller myotomy, which is basically I had to re-architect how my esophagus and my stomach interacted. It was really scary, and for a couple of months I thought this might be it. I might not make it past 40, 41. So the surgery saved my life. There was a few months of recovery, and then in the fall of 2011, I was looking back and like, what was up? I thought I got a parasite from Peru. I thought it might have been viral or bacterial. But it wasn't. Why did I get sick? Why did I get achalasia? Well, it's because I was running too hot for too long. I was in chronic stress mode for 3 years. I wasn't totally aware of it. So chronic stress isn't just bad for us. It will kill us. And so, why am I sharing this with you? Because I believe at the heart of inspiring leadership is, again, it's being inspired, but also just taking great care of ourselves. And I didn't. I was a young guy, and I thought, oh, I'm good. I just can drive it hard and I'll be fine. No. So we need to take care of ourselves. So that's the sort of my link into compassion, tapping into our hearts and intuition, but taking good care of ourselves and those around us, in our families, in our business, in our communities. That compassion, I believe, is like the seed of inspiring leadership. So for me, great compassion is tuning into the heart and listening to it. It's listening to intuition. It's allowing for space. I think a lot of us, I'm guilty of this all the time, is like we feel like we have to fill our calendars. We have to be busy to be successful. That is BS. That's BS. Let's focus on the big rocks. Let's focus on contribution. Let's focus on wellness and space. That, I think, is success. What it's not is letting the saboteur. My friend Keith McPherson might have been joining. He's from Winnipeg up here in Canada, beautiful mindfulness leader. He talks about the saboteur, that monkey mind that says, oh, you should. And, we need to manage that saboteur mind and live more on the heart space. Impatience, I think, is also what compassion is not, and being overly task driven. So compassion is a seed that really can help inspiring leadership blossom. And another quick thought, and when we're having conversations with our 1 Degree Shift team, communities, we actually use this a lot because I don't think we bring enough of emotional literacy. Part of compassion is EQ, is emotional intelligence, and just being in tune with the kinds of feelings and asking this in conversations. Are you feeling hot, red, kind of orange, a little bit frustrated? Yellow is more the bright colors, blue, content, but just sort of being in tune with, and that's okay. Just being accepting of wherever we are and being in tune with our emotions. I think that's part of compassion as well. I love this piece. Fueling compassion strengthens us. For some of us, we might just, it's just one arrow or 2 arrows to bring us down, but how do we get stronger? I think we do that through compassion, through mindfulness, even if it's 2 minutes of breathing or meditation or yoga or going for walks, whatever that is, that sort of mindfulness stuff will strengthen our resilience. There's a direct correlation between compassion for self and resilience, which will enable us to then be inspiring with those around us. I'm just going to quickly pause, Carly, if there are any questions for compassion before I move into courage. Are there any, I'm going to stop share here. Any questions around compassion or any ads, thoughts on compassion, how to activate compassion day to day? Love to hear any perspectives. Going once. No. Okay.
Nothing in the chat, but Tim, I have one question.
Yeah.
How about if you're if you have like let's say a coworker or even a family member or someone you don't get along with necessarily, that you're having trouble kind of looking at their point of view. Do you have any tips for that? Just where with certain people, it's really easy, right? It's fluid and you kind of have each other's back, or there's mutual support there. Any tips for situations where it might be a little bit harder?
Yeah, a few things come up for me. So you're saying compassion, empathy for others, and particularly when we're not totally agreeing.
Are the relationships strained? Yeah.
Yeah, I think one thing is what I just did there, which is sort of a capture back. capture back to what you're hearing. So we don't necessarily need to agree with it, but we need to respect it. I think the respecting others' perspectives is part of compassion. So if somebody is saying something that you don't agree with, rather than saying, shaking it off, yes, but, and we're going to talk about this more in the collaboration, co-elevation part, I would encourage us to be curious about their perspective, some questions, and then capture it back. Okay, so what I'm hearing is you believe we should do this. Is that right? I may not agree with it, but it's just capturing that back and capturing the feelings and also the energy behind the idea, and give it a chance. Because I think that's oftentimes where our growth is too. Like if we disagree with it, it's like, oh, so I've got a bias somehow of why I might disagree with that, but let's give it a chance, curious, ask some questions, and then capture it back. Does that help?
Thank you.
You have, somebody said, Michelle said, you have compassion, but how to use it 100%. Yeah, how do you use it 100%? Yeah, I think we just need to tune into it. I believe compassion lives inside of all of us. It's a human capability. So explore it, tune into it. And I believe it lives in the heart. I think it's a heart-based thing. Bishal from Nepal, by the way. Bishal's from Nepal. Pretty awesome. We have somebody from Nepal. Okay, I'm going to dig into courage. I know there is quite a bit of energy around courage. 31% of you, doing the quick math, 7 or 8 of you thought that courage was something you want to work on. Being curious with what's shifting and willingness to take risks. So I think here are some things that are great. Again, we just talked about curious. So I think if, Carly, your example there, if we disagree with somebody's perspective, I believe it's actually courageous to give that a chance, to give somebody a chance, to give an idea a chance. I believe one of the secret sauces to courage is vulnerability. Brene Brown has made vulnerability cool. And we see so many more leaders now who are willing to say, I don't know, or I'm struggling with, or I need help with. I believe that's a strength. And if a lot of leaders are standing up and saying, I know in this environment, well, I really, so I think it's a great opportunity to really dig into courage now. So courage is about curiosity. It's about vulnerability. It's about accepting for failure. This is something that I struggle with, right? I really like excellence. I love doing great on things. And I think courage is about failure is okay. Failure is an option. Failure, if we're not failing, we may not be stretching enough. So feeling some failure in what we do is super hard. It's tough on the ego, but it's really important in terms of leadership. And I find people that do some failure and learn and grow from it super inspiring. I don't know about you guys. What courage is not is being closed-minded, rigid, playing it too safe. Again, our ego tries to keep us safe, but courage comes from heart. It's like, okay, we're all good here. There's something we can learn and grow from here. That's the place of courage. I love this quote from Brene Brown. It comes from being in the arena, a famous quote here. And I think it was Roosevelt who said, I want to be in the arena. I want to be brave with my life. And when we make the choice to dare greatly, we sign up to get our asses kicked. We can choose courage, we can choose comfort. That's interesting, right? Okay, we're going to choose courage, we're going to choose comfort, but we can't have both, not at the same time. So courage is making a choice to saying, okay, I'm at least willing to make some small c courage choices. And what are those? I believe it could be, I'm not clear about, or how do we make this project more purposeful? Why are we doing this? How do we, or should we get more resources deployed in this project? I think courage is speaking up. It's speaking into truth. It's questioning things. It's creating space for the new. It's experimenting. It's a learning skill. Courage, there's so much beautiful energy to courage, and it's such a vulnerable energy too, but we need to be willing to go there with making mistakes. I'll give you a quick example of a courageous leader in my life. He's a client. He's in his early 60s. So this notion of you got to be young to be courageous, no, that's BS. I think we can be courageous at any age. And there's a playfulness with courage. Mike Kielhauer, he's a CEO. He runs a business called Kielhauer. They're a world-class designer and manufacturer of office stuff. So you might be sitting on one of their chairs right now, or you might have a desk from Keelhauer, one of their sofas. Mike came to one of our executive breakfasts at 1 Degree Shift 4 years ago, and there was about 100 people in the room. We had a great session, and he came to me afterwards. He says, Tim, we've lost our mojo. I'd never met Mike before. He came as a guest. We had a great company, but we're not a great company. We've lost our mojo. And we had a quick conversation and a couple of subsequent conversations. And what he felt like is that they just lack some energy. So we spent some time with their group of their top 20 leaders. We did a leadership assessment. And in this leadership assessment, it identifies fear or entropy. Entropy is fear. So high entropy, lots of fear, low trust. And their entropy was 38%, which is quite high. So there's a lot of fear in their system. And basically, a lot of the leaders, there was a lack of trust or low trust. So we did some work with them to build some key capabilities around courage, around collaboration, around working better together, being more open in terms of their communication. And we did another assessment 8 months later, and that entropy had gone from 38%, lots of fear, low trust, to 12%, which is much higher trust. And the energy had completely shifted. And a couple of people actually ended up exiting the business, which was very difficult. So they took that strengthening of the leadership team and then broadened it to the rest of the culture. There's about 350 people there, and they were way more aligned. And their value proposition became all around comfort with their products, with their people. And they ended up winning a host of awards in June 18 at NeoCon, which is the big the big thing in that business at Keelhauer. So they went from struggling in November 2016 to really rocking it in June 18. Why? Mike, the CEO, said, I'm struggling. We're struggling. We've lost our mojo. That's demonstrating some vulnerability. Like, we need to do, and you know what? He didn't have the answer. He's like, we need to do something different. I'm not sure what it is. I think we can do that if we're an individual producer, if we're a support person, if we're leading a business, if we're leading a community, if we're a dad, if we're a mom, if we're a sister or brother. We can just say something's missing. I think that's a relational thing. So vulnerability, I think, can be at a very high level organizationally, like Mike, or very, very, one-on-one type of level. We've lost our mojo or something's missing. Why? It takes courage, I think, to kind of lean into that. So before going there, I'm just going to stop share because I know courage was a big thing. Did that help you with some courage stuff, vulnerability? I just love to hear maybe one person who picked courage, and what did you get out of that? How is that helpful? There's about, I think, 7 or 8 of you. So be courageous, and please be willing to share something you took away from that courage section. Elise, I'm looking at you and you're smiling. I sense that you might have chosen courage. Did you?
I did not.
Oh, okay. But do you want to share something you took away about courage?
Let's see. Sorry, it's too early in the morning. No, I really appreciated the things you said. And it did make a lot of sense to me, but I don't feel like I have anything directly to share.
You're a thinker. You're reflecting on it. That's cool. And I know it's early. Are you you're in the West Coast somewhere? So it's midday for us here in the East Coast, Toronto. Okay, I'd love to hear from one person, courage, something that to add or something you took away around courage, or an anecdote, something. Maybe Art or Jessica, or not. You want to stay silent? That's cool. I respect that. Okay, I'm going to keep going. So let's dive into cause. I'm just going to touch on cause because only 4% of you said this was something you wanted to work at. But cause is about why, connecting with your own personal purpose. So what's great, it's about being clear about a reason for being, what your purpose of the year is. It's more intrinsic motivation, as Dan Pink talks about, which is purpose, autonomy, having freedom, and mastery, which is learning. So it's that why stuff. What's not is just too much extrinsic engagement and another great book around purpose. Well, there's Start With Why, which is Simon Sinek's book. Another one is essentialism. I think that's cause. Purpose is like, it's being really focused and purposeful on things rather than being too much of a spreader. Simon Sinek, I think one of the leading why guys, or cause. Very few people or companies can articulate why they do what they do. By why, I mean, What's your purpose, cause, or belief? Why does your company exist? Why do you get out of bed every morning? And why should anyone care? So that why, the why of things, and purpose of a business, purpose of a meeting, purpose of somebody's focus in life. I just thought I'd do this really fast for fun because these are some higher purpose company examples. You see if you can guess. To use our imaginations to bring happiness to millions. What is that? Quick guess. Disney. Some of the most purposeful companies on earth are really flourishing. Which one's this? Vision to be Earth's. What is that? If you guessed Amazon, you're right. Save people money so they can live better. These guys are rocking right now. Big box store. You got it. Walmart. Give people the freedom to fly. Tough business right now, isn't it? Their whole vision was around democratizing the skies, Southwest. And there's a final one. That's one of our clients. You're not going to know though. Okay. So something to think about and take away is just reflect on why, and something called the ikigai, which is reason for being. And the ikigai is this intersection point between passion, what do you love to do, mission, what's your vocation, what can I get paid at? It's a sort of this unique ability, this ikigai zone. I think where is your passion, purpose, energy? That's the place of cause. For example, mine is inspiring sustainable shifts to fuel well-being and innovation. So I'm super passionate about how to help people, organizations with meaningful shifts that can be better for themselves and to be innovative. That's a little bit about my why. Okay, co-elevate. Collaboration on steroids. What does that look like? It's about listening to each other. It's about believing in the collective wisdom. It's about focusing on we versus me. It's the yes and versus the yes but. And here are some things. I think the biggest thing that gets in the way of collaboration or co-elevation as an inspiring skill is ego. Ego, I'm right, you're wrong. It is the enemy of collaboration. So how do we just still our ego because it separates? It gets in the way of great collaboration. And we all have one. It's a human thing. So how do we just manage that ego so that we can really riff on ideas and build on ideas? So this co-elevation concept comes from Keith Ferrazi, and you'll see the URL there in the piece I'll put together for Carly and Learn It that you can grab. You can check these guys out. Keith Ferrazi, you wrote Never Eat Alone, Leaders Eat Last. He just written a new, not Leaders Eat Last, that was Cynic. He just wrote a new book called Leading Without Authority. And he talks about 3 years ago, he came up with this concept of co-elevation, and co-elevation, and I'm not going to read it, but it's about the contract of a group of people. And it's about elevating each other. So it's kind of a network-based teaming, and being really explicit about the norms or the contract between each other so that we can really harness each other's strengths and energy to elevate the cause or the team. So that's at the essence of co-elevation. And another spot to learn from, I think, collaboration is improv. I remember my background is as a professional actor and singer and musician. In early days, my wife Nancy and I did some improv classes, which is super hard, but also really interesting and helpful because it's all about letting go of your ego and throwing a ball up in the air and playing around with it. So improv, you learn how to let go. It's about high trust. It's about really trusting that something's going to emerge. Doesn't always. Failure is a total option with Second City and improv. 1 + 1 = 3. And the number one thing that I learned in improv was this notion of yes and versus yes but. Because what kills a scene is if there's a few of us that are doing an improv, if somebody is improving or speaking, and if you take the ball and if you kind of look at them and like, yes, but that's a really stupid idea. Well, that shuts down the scene. That's the same in business. If you sort of, the de Bono 6 hats, if you say that's a really dumb idea or give a look like judgment, that's what shoots down the scene or shoots down the idea or sort of kills collaboration. So instead what we can do is say, okay, yes, and that's interesting. Let's layer on that. Or, okay, give that idea some potential. So the yes and is a trigger for us to build on ideas. That's a way that we can co-elevate, the way that we can expand and build on other ideas. So just that yes and is a small tip I just want to share with you. One small way you can co-elevate. And finally, coach. Coach about helping others become the best version of themselves. I believe that coach is like mastery. We can all do it. If we're parents, we need to do it. If we're coaches in soccer or hockey or football or gymnastics or whatever it is at work, it is mastery though, because we really need to get in the shoes of that person, figure out where they're strong, help them, get better and better on their terms, not necessarily better as we see it, but from their lens. So what's great is focusing on strengths versus weakness. I think that's the main thing I see as a challenge with coaching, is we focus on weakness versus strengths. It's focusing on the beliefs or the mindset as well as the behaviors, and also accountabilities. I think coaching, there's accountability. Okay, what are you going to do better differently? What does that look like? What's in it for you? What's not is overemphasis on weakness, too much push. So I think great coaching is about pull and about strengths. So here's a great quote, Stacy Feiner. She's a psychologist in the US. I just love this quote. So while the complexities change, the work of coaching stays the same. Keep your clients, whoever that might be, at the center of the work. Push them or encourage them to use their strengths more and to temper their weaknesses and illuminate blind spots, because these are what really get in the way. Blind spots. It's a great point. How do we help ourselves and others be aware of what those blind spots might be that might be getting in the way? How do we focus on that mindset part with coaching? So there are the 5 C's as a summary: heart set, presence, trust the heart, compassion, tuning into our own heart and our intuition and ripple effect to others and the teammates around us, courage, willingness to take risks, stretching our comfort zones, cause, have a why, co-elevate. What are those strengths? The yes and, the coach, help others be the best version of themselves. What's great, what's not, those are behaviors that we can really fuel as leaders. So maybe I started with this question, maybe come back to this question, and then we're gonna do a poll and we're gonna wrap up. When you think of an inspired or inspiring leader, who comes to mind, or what is that? Has that shifted at all for you? When you think about inspired, inspiring leader, have you got any revised, edited, slightly different thoughts from the talk or the conversation today? I'm going to skip that. I'm curious if we could put up the poll, Carly, again. What's your number one takeaway here? Is it around? Which one is it around? So maybe as you do this, think about, what is your takeaway? What do you want to do better, differently? So I'm really curious which one area was sort of the most helpful for you, or your takeaway or commitment is around which one of these 5 C's of being a more heartful leader. Wondering if the courage lines up or if it's a different theme. We'll give you another 7 seconds or so. Number one takeaway, and then we'll take some questions. What do we got there, Carly? What does
See, we still have a couple people coming in.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it looks like we have about 25 people again, and I'll go ahead and end the polling. It looks like courage was the biggest one.
Very interesting. I wonder why that is. So the courage, 38%, so 31% of you at the front end. So that's what you want to work on. And so it's courage and then co-elevate, courage and then co-elevate. That's really cool. We got 6 minutes just for some questions. So I'm going to ask you guys the first question. Why do you think that is? Why was there the most energy around courage here? Hey, I want to work at that, and my takeaways around that. So why do you think courage is so important to inspiring leadership? Any views on that? Love to hear some perspectives. Carly, let's start with you. Why do you think that is?
I mean, I think for me, the courage piece of just getting yourself to take bigger risks. I think especially maybe going into this past year and going into the new year, you're like, I just want to keep my head on straight and keep moving the ball down the court. But I think the idea of maybe taking a risk or having more courage is, at least for me, maybe not like the first step that I would be like, oh, that's what I need to invest in for me to be a better leader. So I think it's a little bit less intuitive for me, but yet it's like a aha, like, oh no, this is actually a really opportune time to be courageous. To maybe that's speaking up, maybe it's trying to get better at presenting every week. It's just it's just having the courage to. I think that was a big one for me. If it wasn't, I think I'm quick to always say like, yeah, we can build up other people, but being courageous for myself and maybe going after a lofty goal, especially in the current context. That was an aha for me. Yeah.
Anybody else? Why? Marissa.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I think too, like the failure aspect of it, obviously, like I actually didn't say courage. I said compassion is what I could do better, but courage was my second choice. I just think it's more of like you don't want to fail, but also something that I was told a while back, and I've like always remembered this is like kind of applies is it's always a no unless you try. Like if your answer is always going to be no, nothing's ever going to happen. Like it's always a no unless you try. So that's like something that I try to remember every day.
Well, so it's a great point. And we, again, back to saboteur. Our saboteur here is like, oh no, it's not going to happen, or I'm not going to say yes, or we probably can't do that. Like the saboteur is holding us safe. So it's actually challenging to break through that. And I love what you said about failure, because we won't take risks a lot of times because it's like, oh, failure, it's tough on the ego, man. Like, it's tough. But other perspectives on, I'm just going to read Michelle. Having courage simply helps us to go from the complicated situation to a normal situation. Other people don't have courage to jump into the problems. Yeah, we need to sort of, it's about jumping in, I think, is what he's saying. Cool. John F. Might feel better if the manager is also showing vulnerability. Yeah, that's a great point. Like, how do we, in organizations, encourage vulnerability? Here's a simple way, like ask for help. I know that's something that we work with our kids on. We've got asking for help is cool. It's strong. Somehow our environments condition us to say, no, me do myself. I'm good. And independence is good. At the same time, if we reach out for help, what does that do? It creates openings. I'm reaching out for help for John. Hey, John, I'm struggling with this, man, and I could really use your help on this project. This is what I'm thinking, but I'm showing some vulnerability because I don't have all the answers. I might have some of them, but I'm asking for help. I'm struggling. I'm showing some vulnerability. And what's that going to do with John? John's like, oh, wow. Okay. Game on. How can I dig in here? It creates an opening versus if I'm a leader, I got it. I create a closed-minded, the energy's closed. Vulnerability creates an opening of energy, like let's do something together. So you can tell me how I can. Tim, do you have another way to say vulnerability? Yeah, okay, cool, good question. You have a reaction to vulnerability. Yeah. I'm going to put that to the group. I'm struggling with another word for vulnerability. I'm creating an opening. I'm trying to model it. And I'm actually being authentic. Who's got a synonym or another way of expressing imperfect? Thank you, John. Imperfect, being open. Okay, yeah, open. That's good. Openness. I like, okay, is being open, is that part of vulnerability? I buy that. Just creating some opening. So who asked that question? Joe. Maybe Joe, just do a thumbs up or say, yeah, that's cool. I can use openness instead. Yeah, thanks. Right on. Cool. Openness. Any other questions, thoughts around courage, or anything else we've talked about here today around inspiring leadership? Before I close with a poem. Okay, I'm going to close with a poem. It is one of my favorite poems, and part of what I'm going to be giving the Learn It folks. And by the way, remember, Learn It, January, self-leadership. They got more great stuff. So share with your team. Get engaged with some of the Learn It activities in January. I'm going to just share this with you. So this is the fourfold way. This was an image that was in our backyard in the house that we used to live in, Heartful. And this is a poem from Angels Arian, who's a cultural anthropologist. She passed away a few years ago, but just a brilliant, beautiful human being. She said this: show up, choose to be present, pay attention to what has heart and meaning, tell the truth without blame or judgment, be open to outcome, not attached to it. So I hope you got one or two insights. Grab a hold of that insight and that commitment. Please put it into practice. Share some of the highlights with some of your teammates. I hope you all got some insights on how to be a more inspired and inspiring leader. So thank you, and thanks to the Learn It team.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you so much for your insightful presentation. Quick in the chat, just if you enjoyed today, give Tim a little clap or share your thoughts in the chat. Awesome, I'm seeing some people comment. So thank you so much, Tim. Everyone, if you have a moment to stick around, I'll just share with you a couple of housekeeping items and ways to kind of stay in touch with Tim and Learn It. So real quick here, I'm just gonna pull this up. No, not play from beginning. Let's see. So you can go ahead and contact Tim at tim@onedegree.ca. I'll go ahead and share that out with all of you via email. And Tim is also offering 25% off of his 3 virtual keynotes that he has. Actually, I believe some of them are live, Tim, but possibly recorded as well. But if you're interested in learning more about working with Tim, please email Tim directly, or you can message Marissa and I in Offsite directly. And as promised, we have a couple of things for you. Here's a couple of things why it's important to join Offsite. First of all, you'll get access to today's recording right away. And there's also live instructor help in the platform. So we will respond to your live questions within 48 hours. And there's also office hours with our instructors and experts, people like Tim, every week on Wednesday mornings. And there'll also be exclusive discounts on upcoming courses and full-length courses. So if you want to dive deeper, if you want to prescribe training or learning and development to your team or your organization, there'll be discounts and offers for that. So you can go ahead and go to offsitebylearnit.com to find out more. And again, Marissa and I will also email that out. For those of you that are tuning in today that joined from Offsite, welcome. Thank you so much for being with us and for joining this community. But we're really thrilled and just excited to have all of you with us in this community. And we thank you for being here today. And Tim and I and Marissa will stick around for questions for the next couple minutes. But I know it is 9:33, so thank you for your time. And we'll see you next week. We have a session coming up next week as well, so stay tuned for that calendar.
I'll stick around if there's some questions. If anybody wants to chat about something.
Good night, Vishal. Thanks for tuning in.
So I see you there, Jen. I work with Jen. So Jen, what was your takeaway from today?
It's really good. These types of things really get my heart pounding, right? Like, because it's,